On this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast, convert your debt to wealth. So welcome back to this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast. My name is Shawn Yesner, owner and founder of Yesner Law, and I've got back with me live your financial coach, George Corbello. How you doing, George?
I'm doing well. How's it going with you?
I am doing good. I think I have finally recovered from my spring break vacation.
The boys are good. Everybody's having a great time.
Boys are good. Everybody's good. It only took me, 3 weeks to recover from being out for a week.
Well, that means you had a really good time. Everybody had a really good time itself. How was the spending plan at the end of this vacation? Did we break the bank? Did we have any regrets that more money at the end of the month of the money? How's it going there?
Both. So I had my budget. And actually, no. So I did make the boys, I made sure the boys bought their green light cards.
Okay.
And so I bought, the only souvenirs that I bought were souvenirs I wanted for me.
Nice. Okay.
They bought their own souvenirs. We did see my mom when we were in Tallahassee. We saw my mom and dad, but we went out to breakfast with my mom when we were in Tallahassee. And ironically, there was an FSU store, paraphernalia store, books and shirts and all that stuff.
Okay.
Right next to where we had breakfast, coincidentally.
Oh, wow. Convenient.
And I happened to let my mom know that we were walking around the store prior to breakfast. And so after breakfast, my mom said, "Hey, you want to go back to the store?" Sure, Mom.
Mom's still good to mom. I love it.
Mom was mom and grandma. But we got the boys some stuff. How about you? You unpacked all the boxes yet?
All the boxes are unpacked. I did notice that having a home, again, I 3 months into this experiment of being a homeowner has been extremely awakening again, because it's we have yard work and we have boxes to unpack. We have these, so boxes are unpacked. But I did have here in Florida I had an uninvited type of guest in my home.
The flying kind?
No. This was a frog.
Oh.
I had a frog, and of course, I do have cats, and yet all of them are looking at this animal like, what is this thing, and why is it hopping all over the place?
Keeps the bugs out.
Okay, great, but you see this buffoon flying around the house trying to catch this little thing, because my wife was like, why is that in here? Let's get it out of this home. So yeah, it was an interesting morning, let's put it like that, in trying to manage that. But overall, I'm still a happy homeowner.
I had, when I lived in my house, we had a gecko that was floating around the house, and at the time I had my dog. My dog actually named the gecko. So the gecko's name was Murph.
Murph?
So every time the dog saw it, Murph. So that was the gecko's name, but he kept the bugs out. So speaking of, by the way, so we do have a couple of guests on the show this week that I'm going to introduce, but not to get too personal, George, did you take out a 30-year loan on the house?
Well, yes, I still took the 30 year, I was going to say 30-day, but 30-year loan mortgage, but we are looking to pay it faster. So we're doing pay it at least the 16-year, not 15-year, but we're doing 16, right?
So our guests, do you have a home equity line on it, or just the
mortgage?
Just the mortgage. So regardless, I think our guests today can give us some tips on how to pay off that mortgage in
I'm very interested.
Way less than 30 years.
I like it.
So I want to introduce our guests. We got Tammy Gardner and we got Brian Nates. So I'm going to start with Tammy really quick. She lives here local. She lives here with us in Clearwater. Well, not with us, but she lives in Clearwater, Florida. She attended college at the University of New Mexico as an economics major. She spent 35 years in lending as a mortgage loan officer, and then spent 10 years behind the scenes on the bank side in loan servicing, audits, and compliance. After seeing how the lending industry is set up for banks to win at the expense of consumers, she wanted to help people more effectively and has been a financial advisor for over 10 years. She's passionate about educating individuals and businesses on how money really works and empowering them to make informed financial decisions that align with their goals and ultimately create a more prosperous and fulfilling future for themselves and their families. We've also got Brian Nates as a guest with us. He went to college. He's also I don't know Floridian, but he went to college at UCF, University of Central Florida. He's been in the financial industry for 18 years. He is part of multiple masterminds, a coach and a mentor to over 2,000 agents, a trainer, a youth basketball coach, an innovative and outside the box thinker in financial services, business development, and product development. So Brian and I actually do share a common thread. He also lost his wife years and years and years ago, but it lit a fire under him that tomorrow is not promised. And so to do all you can to make a difference for others today, he's driven to educate, consult, and be involved with programs that make a real tangible impact for people and the community as a whole. He currently lives in Indianapolis with his wife, Brooke, and they have 3 kids. And so welcome, Tammy, and welcome, Brian, to the podcast.
Thank you. Great to be here this morning.
Same here. And before we even get started, I just have to have a little bit of fun. George, I noticed that, so you live in the Tampa area, but yet you're wearing a Mets shirt.
Like every other New Yorker, he moved to Florida.
Born
you're
and
wearing a
raised in New
Mets
York
shirt.
City, and then somehow got lost on I-95, and made my way down to Florida. So,
Yeah, I have two things with that. One, like Tampa Bay, right? They got a pretty good baseball team. But secondly,
They
you're
lost the
living in
home opener yesterday.
Yes,
yeah,
they
right?
did.
Living in the heart of Yankee spring training.
yeah, boy.
I'm a Yankee fan, born outside, born
Oh,
in the
boy.
Bronx.
This
Born in
interview's
the
already
Bronx.
downhill. Sorry, we're in trouble.
Yeah, I just thought I'd have a little fun with that. And then lastly, the frog thing. When I was living in Florida, I got introduced to, which I found out is huge in the Midwest too, gigging frogs. You know what that is?
No, I guess something I'm going to learn here. Go ahead.
Yeah. You can build a little spear with a piece of wood and a nail. And you put the nail on the wood, and you literally can go gigging for frogs.
Oh my goodness! Well, again, I use plastic bag just to move him from inside the house to outside the house. But I'll talk to my wife and see if she wants to go hunting.
Yeah, look it up. It's called gigging. Gigging.
Got it.
It's a
All right.
specific thing.
how-
The only reason I learned about it was I was in Florida one day. Not one day. I lived there for 20 years. But there was a massive storm, and all these frogs were hanging out outside of our house, and it was so loud.
Wow.
It kept us up I said, I can't take this anymore. I went to the garage. I built a gig, and I took care of all the frogs. I was out there for like an hour or two.
When my oldest son was, I think we just had our oldest son. The younger one wasn't even born yet, and there was a huge rain in the neighborhood, and my son at the time, baby, was sleeping in his room, and my wife kept saying, "There's ducks outside the house." Now the neighborhood has ponds, so I'm like,
Yeah.
ducks? Why? But we're kind of a walk from the nearest pond. I'm like, what would a duck be doing? What are you talking about? There's ducks outside. There's ducks outside the baby's room. There's ducks outside the baby's room. So I go walking. There's a bunch of frogs.
Yep.
I'm like, honey, now you're no longer allowed to teach our kids about math or animals. I am teaching the kids about animals,
I love it.
not you. So what are we talking about today? I mentioned to George that one thing that I've been working with Tammy and Brian on is basically a system. It's a system I'd been kind of introduced to years and years and years ago, but I never really dug into it. So why don't you all describe it in terms of, it's basically a way to, it's a computer program, it's a mathematical algorithm that in essence helps somebody pay off their debt faster, right?
Yeah. Tammy, you mind if I go? Yeah.
Please go ahead.
So we are, our background is in financial advising and helping people and plan for retirement and all that. Part of that is, hey, what is your debt doing to you? I don't have to tell you guys what debt does to a lot of people in this country.
Yep.
Right? It crushes them, and it gets in the way of their dreams, gets in the way of their business, gets in the way of them making a difference and an impact for their children, for their grandchildren. It just crushes so many hopes and so many people from actually doing well for their life.
Right.
Right. Matter of fact, it always reminds me of years ago. there was this great commercial of this gentleman riding a huge lawnmower. And this commercial said, he was like, he had a great house, he had a great car, he was riding his lawnmower, cutting his huge property. And he says, well, how do I do it? I'm in debt up to my eyeballs.
I remember that commercial. I remember that commercial.
Yeah, and that is unfortunately what is getting in the way of so many people. So we have this program, it's called the Money Max account, that allows clients to systematically, like a GPS does in your car, or the Waze app, how it helps you take the right path to get to where you want to go. Now, for some people, it's, I want to eliminate my debt as fast as possible. For others, it's, well, I want to eliminate debt, but I also want to make investments. I also want to do other things. I also want to plan for future, plan for college, plan for, and forecast things, right? So what we developed was a system that comes with coaching. Like, I do want to bring that up, right? It helps clients with understanding how to use our program, how to strategize and use it well. But it's a way that, like, I want anyone that's listening to this, if there was a real way that you could eliminate, I'll say almost, not all, but almost all the interest in your life. And if you really pay attention to their debts and how much interest is being collected from that financial institution that you're paying the mortgage to, the car loan, the credit cards, the student loans, the personal loans, the lines of credit, etc. If you could eliminate most of the interest in your life and be debt free in a fraction of the time, even that brand new mortgage, George, in 5 to 7 years, that is our average client.
Right.
And if we want to just maybe extend that out a little bit, 5 to 10 years, if you could be debt free in that short amount of time, but without affecting, and I'm not talking about eating beans and rice, and you guys know where I'm going with that, right? I'm talking about in a real way that maximizes your efficiency of every penny you have to eliminate interest, get out of debt in 5 to 10 years for most of our clients, save at least, most of our clients with mortgages and stuff are saving at least $100,000 in interest. Like, that's real. If that was real, would you at least want to understand how you can do that and understand more, right? And most people can't get over the fact, like, is that real? Like, too good to be true.
No, it totally makes sense itself. Why? Let me ask you this: why do you think so many people today are leveraging debt the way they are? Is there something that we're seeing in society, or just what are you guys seeing when it comes to the typical stories walking into your office around like, hey, I need help, but like what are you seeing from most of your clients that seem to still be leveraging that debt?
I'm going to be extremely bold. I'm a truthful person when it comes to this. I've seen it for almost 20 years. The banks and the financial institutions have us conditioned to think a certain way. And that is, what's my rate and what's my payment?
Yep.
What's my rate and what's my payment? And we ignore the truth about what's really happening. And all you got to do is look at your payments, look at your schedule, I'll use a mortgage. And I know there's a whole debate of, should you pay off a mortgage? Should you use your money for other things?
Right.
I'm going to say this. It should never be an either or conversation. Meaning, should I use my money for this, or should I use my money to pay off debt? It should be an and.
Right.
Meaning, if you have a full financial picture of what your landscape is and understanding your pathway, you can eliminate interest and build some wealth in retirement at the same time. You absolutely can, right? So my opinion on what you've asked, just from seeing it for years and years and years, and Tammy, I'd like for you to talk about this too, but I think people are conditioned to do things a certain way. And part of that conditioning is, you can afford that rate and payment.
Right.
You deserve to get that new car, right? You haven't even paid off your other car yet, but you could roll it over. I mean, look, it's only going to be this rate, and your payment, you can afford that. We are conditioned to think about what monthly payments we can afford, and to keep up with the Joneses.
Right.
Sorry, it's true, right? Instead of really understanding the financial impact of that decision to buy that new thing, to go on that new trip that's going to cost 10 grand. Oh, but I'll put out my credit card and I can afford it. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out
We'll figure it out.
eventually.
Yeah.
You know, that is I feel, a crippling thing that we try to keep up with the Joneses. And that's why I talk about that commercial. How do I do it? I'm in debt up to my eyeballs. Right? So I think that's a big thing of why people are not understanding the future impact of decisions they're making today, which is what our system really helps show, is how every effect, like, you know how your Waze app in your car or your GPS or whatever you use, Google Maps, iMaps,
Yeah.
shows you the path, and when you make a wrong turn, it recalculates your steps, right?
Yep.
That is what our system does for the consumer that no other program out there. Like, this is not a budgeting tool. This is an actual step-by-step financial pathway that shows clients what their pathway is looking like and how future moves, like with a GPS, you can program in, hey, I want to go get something to eat. I know I'm driving from Florida to Indiana, but I need to stop along the way.
Right.
And you can say, well, I want an Italian restaurant. I can stop at this restaurant. It's going to add 3 hours to my trip. But if I stop at this one, it's going to add 20 minutes. I'm probably going to stop at the 20-minute detour, not the 3-hour detour.
Right.
But I can see that before making the decision and telling my GPS which one I want to go to. So for our clients, it's, I'm going to buy that new car. I'm going to get another rental property. I'm going to plan to invest in this investment over here. Like, how is that affecting my whole pathway and my destination?
Makes sense.
Which is debt freedom, right? So to answer your question, I think we're conditioned. We're conditioned to think a certain way intentionally, and we got to stop that thinking. The only way something changes is something changes.
Gotcha. Now, Tammy, let me ask you, the typical client, I mean, everybody's like, oh, wow, how do I do this? How do I get faster? This sounds fantastic. But I'm unique. Maybe I won't, it's not for me. The program might not be, because a lot of us are discouraged when it comes to trying something or doing something from, to make that big change. It's like, well, I'm already conditioned. Why change? This is already, what would get me to have that conversation with you and the company itself to really, jumpstart that journey with you and your program?
That's a great question, George. I think that honestly, there's so much pain out there. I mean, people are really at a point where so many people are living paycheck to paycheck, and
Yep.
even the ones that aren't are spending pretty much what they're making. So when they come to us, it's a very much an educational approach, because even though I was in the industry, it's very humbling for 35 years, right? Yes, I studied economics in college. Did I learn any of this? No, I did not. Only when I'm 3 years ago, when I was actually 64, at the ripe old age of 64, did I find out about this.
Right.
And I was like, wow, I could have had a V8, wow, where was this years ago? But at any age, what really brings it home to the person is starting to understand what Brian said. It's not about the rate and payment, and that's what sucks us in. And it's the volume of interest that we pay. So when we can effectively reduce that volume of interest tremendously, and they can really spend their hard-earned dollars paying off principal, it makes all the difference. And specifically, we do a free analysis for people, and they see their own numbers.
Right.
That's when it was real to me. When I saw my own numbers. And the other point is, it doesn't require a change in lifestyle. It takes a person where they are today with their income today, not that, hey, if I win the lottery, this will be my income, right? It's today's income, today's reality, and it builds a bridge toward their future with very real steps that doesn't tangibly pinch or change anything, because we design it that way. So I think when people see what's happening, how it's a trap, right, for them, and how it can be empower them to pay off their debt. That is what really makes a difference, and it gives people hope to actually um, pay off their debts and be able to live a better life for themselves.
Well, and so without giving away the entire farm here, so to speak, it's basically a computer program that says, on this day you should move this money from here to here, from checking to savings, from checking to this debt, from savings to that debt, from this bank account to that bank account. And I think, and I don't know if it was Money Max, but it was some similar type of system that I was exposed to years ago, and I didn't take advantage of it at the time, and I think because one of the words that I have trouble saying, one of the criticisms of the system is, I have to be in there every day, and I have to be moving money from this account to that account, and I have to be doing this, and what if I miss a day here? What if I don't transfer the right amount on that day over there? What if the system says transfer it from savings to the credit card, but I take it from the general checking account to the credit card? So what would you say to somebody that says, I'm afraid that I might not be disciplined enough to follow the system?
Yeah, good question. First of all, let me kind of explain so that the people listening can really understand what the Money Max account does. And you hit it on the head there. But I wanted to just make sure, so what the Money Max account system is doing for our clients is looking at every debt they have, and then looking at every single account that they have, checking account, savings account, money market. There's interest earned in some accounts, right? And then you have all this interest that you're getting charged in others, your credit cards, car loans, mortgages, etc. And what it's doing, like a GPS system in your car, puts a step by step pathway to figuring out the fastest mathematical solution, but in real time, because guys, it's not a map, or it's not even MapQuest. That's just static, right? It's just a static, like an Excel spreadsheet. Those that are listening, that, well, I budget myself with this app or that app. Yeah, those are great budgeting tools, but you lie to them, first of all. And secondly, it's static. So what the system itself is doing is in real time giving you a step by step pathway that's forever changing based on real time things. You can even connect your bank accounts activity like you could with Quicken or other types of apps, where it in real time is understanding income in, expenses out, etc. So to answer your question, what it's really doing is like a GPS in the car. Yes, it's giving you the pathway, but if you don't listen to your GPS, or if you're spaced out and you miss your turn, does it shut your car off?
No.
It just says, oh, you missed that left turn. Let's go ahead and make the next left turn to get you back on path. Right? Or, you know what? I'm not going that way because that's a bad neighborhood. I don't want to go through the city. I'm going to go down this pathway here. And even your GPS and Waze and all that shows, hey, would you want to go the city route? You want to go the highway route? You want to go the scenic route?
Right.
Like, you have different choices. And it's just going to show you your path based on what you want to do. So to answer that fully, like, hey, it's going to have a path set up, but here's what I tell clients. I mean, all you got to do is reconcile. Once a month is fine. Like, you don't have to, if you miss the exact date, it's okay. It's just going to recalculate your steps. So it's going to use the flow of your dollars the most efficient way possible, even if you go in once a month and reconcile. Like, you pull up your checking account online, you pull up the Money Max account online, you reconcile your activity, and then after you've reconciled, then it's going to say, okay, great, that's what happened. Here's your next step. Most of my clients reconcile on a weekly basis. Every Saturday morning, this is what I teach them. Every Saturday morning, once you get your cup of coffee, get your cup of tea, or if you're fasting, get your water, and go ahead and reconcile for the week. It's going to take you 10 minutes a week. Now, do I have those clients that are falling in love, just like a GPS in your car. When it tells you you're going to get there in 11 minutes, what do? You try to beat that time.
Challenge accepted.
Yes, exactly.
It's recommended, not
Yes. And so next thing you know, you're trying to do things to get there in 8 minutes, not 11, because you want to beat it. The psychological proactiveness of because our program says, hey, it literally shows you on the dashboard. Guys, I would suggest people like go to moneymaxaccount.com/Yesner, right? That is a great little way to say, I want more information, and just request info. We're going to get you the information, meet with us one-on-one, show you your stuff, exactly how it would work for you, and have a great conversation, right? So moneymaxaccount.com/Yesner, and I'm sure we'll talk about that later too. But it's a great way to understand more. So if you can at least commit to updating your system once a month, I have clients that are in there every day because it becomes a game where you can see your debt payoff date, like in real time. Mine, right now, I bought my home. Now, I've used this system since 2007, by the way, okay? And I paid off multiple properties, multiple debts. I bought a brand new home in January of 2020. I signed up for that 30-year mortgage, George. I'm going to have it all paid off in April of 2025, April 3rd, 2025, to be exact.
Wow.
Okay? Imagine if you could tangibly see your payoff date, your Jubilee date, your debt freedom date, and how life is happening, how it affects that in real time. Now imagine if you say, yeah, but Brian, I mean, I'm going to buy a new car next year. Okay, what if you had a system that said, if you go do that, before you even buy it, how it affects your goals, and you could tangibly feel and understand in real time how those future decisions are going to affect your outcome before you ever had to make the decision to do it. There's a lot of power in that. Instead of being conditioned to focus on rate and payment, you're being conditioned in a better way to focus on, okay, how's that actually going to affect us and my family?
So and you and I went through it, and I'm gonna sign up, and I'm gonna start using it for myself as well, just for my own, because I got a 30-year loan as well, and I pay a little bit on it every month, but a little bit extra on it every month. But if this will supercharge it, and I can get my, I think when we did the analysis for me, it was I could be totally debt free, the mortgage, the cars, the everything, the one credit card that I have, I could have all of that paid off right in time to send my oldest to college.
Nice.
So, and then incur all that student loan debt. But my understanding of the system is that it also goes the other way. In other words, you could set it to say, at what date can I be debt free? But you can also build into that, at what date will I have a 6-month reserve? At what date will I have, enough money saved up that I can contribute to retirement? And I know that's probably a totally different podcast episode in terms of the, using insurance policies and banking on yourself and all that other kind of stuff. But the system works both ways. In other words, what date will I be debt free, and then at what date will I be able to build and create these other assets, retirement accounts, reserve accounts for emergencies, saving up to go on vacation because I want to pay cash rather than put it on a credit card. The system will also factor in those things as well, right?
Absolutely, all of the above. What's so beautiful about our program, it's not an either or conversation anymore. So many people think, well, I can only do this or I have to do this. It's an and conversation now with clients. And all of what you just said is easily set up in the program. I want to save up for a vacation. You can tell it the date that you even want to go on vacation and make sure you have enough money in savings to do that, right? Like you can absolutely do that. You can set up, what is my net worth going to be in 20 years? And you can see that. There's so many things that we're just scratching the surface, but it's a full inclusive. Guys, I want you to really visualize your Waze app. You know how the Waze app even says, well, there's an accident 3 miles up, and it's going to automatically readjust based on that. There's a cop down the road and you need to slow down. Like all that stuff is built. We just built it for cash flow. management
Right.
and future steps in your path.
And
So all of it.
I was
all of
going to say, including, let's say somebody has an adjustable rate loan.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. What if somebody has a 18-month 0% credit card, and in month 18 it's adjusting to 28.99? Because that's true, right? Our system understands that and is going to mathematically give you the perfect mathematical algorithm. There's 41 million lines of code built in. The creators of our system actually spent close to $20 million developing it, and that's a fact, right? So it's not a fancy glorified Excel spreadsheet. It's a real live breathing mechanism that's constantly readjusting in real time the best thing to do with every single penny.
One of the things that I was thinking is, there are other strategies out there to eliminate debt. So what if, for example, I were using the system, and let's say I had one card at 18.9% and another card at 20.8%, but somebody offered me a consolidation loan at 13%. The normal thinking would be, well, let me take those two high interest rate credit cards, consolidate them into a lower rate consolidation loan. I mean, I assume all of that could be factored into the program, but is that something where I would want maybe some outside advice to say, is it better to stick with what MoneyMax is telling me to do, what the MoneyMax account is telling me to do, and just pay off this 18 and this 20? Or does it make more sense to take out this 13% consolidation loan, cut up those two cards so I don't run them up again, and then factor all of that? Or is the MoneyMax account just giving you the information to make that determination yourself?
Great question. We certainly have certified, licensed advisors that can help. I'm one. Tammy's one as well. Right. And Tammy, I need you to talk more because I'm talking too much. But I just feel bad.
She's also much better to look at, by the way.
So to answer your question, I mean, the MoneyMax account system itself is a perfect mathematical algorithm. That's all it is. It can help you make the right decisions like that. You can there's even a thing in the MoneyMax account called the consolidation wizard, and it's showing if you consolidate debt at different rates and stuff like that, what that would look like. Like, so if you have that option, it will say, hey, you're going to be debt free in 6.2 years, saving $180,000 in interest. And you use our consolidation wizard that says, well, if you use that now to pay off that debt at this percent, well, it's going to go up to 6.8 years, or it's going to go down to 5.4 years. Like, you can see the cause and the effect of that decision that you want to make before you even have to make the decision to do it. And that's a very powerful, I listen to sometimes some people love him, some people hate him, whatever. I listen to Tony Robbins sometimes, and one of his really good quotes that sticks in my mind a lot with clients is, knowledge to do something or how to do something is good, but knowledge is not where the power comes from. The execution of that knowledge is where the power really happens. You have to execute it well, not just know how to do something, right? Mm-hmm. So the MoneyMax account helps our clients stay on path and actually execute knowledge. There are so many different strategies, guys. Yeah. There's debt snowball, debt avalanche, there's debt stacking, there's becoming your own banker, there's velocity banking, which is using a line of credit the right way. There's so many different strategies out there. Which one's right?
Yeah. It's whichever
one you use.
Whichever one you use, right? So that's right. The thing. Let me ask this. So, Tammy, let me ask this as well, because a lot of times, again, you can have the perfect program. You can have, the application, the numbers, everything works for you itself. But you're absolutely right. I think Brian mentioned it as well. It's the execution piece. It's the habits, it's the behaviors. That's as a financial coach, I've been, that for me has been the biggest thing is you can have the perfect spreadsheet or the application, but if the person's mindset is not there, it just, again, you can maybe see some results, but maybe the most individuals lose the steam, lose the motivation. Because when we're talking, wow, you'll be out of debt in 2026 or 2025, they're like, dude, what about next week? What about
that's 3 years away?
exactly? So what do you guys do to help with the mindset shift that's usually needed when it comes to a program like this itself? Because I think that's I just curious to see what you guys do to help folks kind of think a little differently when it comes to their journey.
That's a great question. Well, I can speak personally for myself and also for the people I've worked with, is that most people, when they realize what is the problem, it's not necessarily the debt, the money that they borrowed that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, maybe they overborrowed and they have a bunch of stuff. Okay, fine. But it's the way we're paying it back. So when they realize they actually can have a system to kind of have their cake and eat it too, they can pay back their debts, but in a much shorter amount of time, then they get really excited, because it's actually a system that they can use. And one thing I wanted to mention, tagging off what Brian said, is in terms of predicting and really seeing what today's decisions mean in terms of that payoff date, becomes such a game. It becomes very fun. But we have a button, and they have a button in their program. It's called a true cost button. So let's say you're thinking of doing this or you're doing that, or you're going to, your payoff date's coming up. Wow, that's exciting. Well, let's do this. You literally put it in the system. This is what I want to do. And you click a button. Okay, I'm going to put it on a credit card. Then you click your true cost button. Well, that, $30,000 car is going to cost you $45,000. Like, it's the true cost of adding something or doing something, or, what's going to add to your payoff date. And then people can really make the decisions for themselves. And I think a lot of times, like me, I was spending a lot of stuff I didn't really realize and I didn't really need.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't super tracking it. So when I really saw how many holes there were in my bucket, it was pretty easy to plug those up. And because I really, I could see that payoff date. So it really becomes kind of a game.
Yes.
And they get really into it. And it does help them budget. So if they fall off their budget, I had a gazillion budgets, but life happens, kids get sick, you gotta buy 4 new tires, and whoops, you're off the road. This literally, like Brian says, it recalculates instantly in life, and you're right back out of the ditch on the road. So I don't know if that answered your question. But...
Yeah, no. It's definitely, we have to have ways to be able to help folks realize, what's motivating them, what's the why that they want to make the change. Because most of the things that I've seen with clients as well is that if they don't have a purpose and what they want to do, for me, it doesn't matter what tool you use, what method you use, you have to have the mindset itself to really want to actually use it. But it's great that you have a program itself that really can make it easy to be able to see those things and be able to then kind of show that motivation of, well, there's an end date. There's an end date to this stage of your life, but then the wealth building can continue while you're on this journey to kind of reduce one while you're increasing the other. And I think that definitely has huge opportunities for folks who really are ready to make that jump.
Yeah, and I mean, I think my review of the Money Max account is that it's basically in making you inflation proof. Because if you become debt free, or if you even have the plan to become debt free, yeah, gas is going to go up, but you can account for that. Groceries are going to go up, but you can account for that. And if you're debt free, it probably doesn't hit you as much as, oh my gosh, I got to fill up the tank, and I've only got, I need $40 to fill up the tank, but I'm, $30 to max on my credit card.
Right.
What do I do?
Right.
I mean, in my mind, this is also an inflation proof system, or an inflation protection system.
Yeah. One of the things that in my world, dealing with a lot of different advisors and agents and CPAs and lawyers, and there's always this debate of, like, well, should I pay off this debt when I can get a better return or do other things with my
Of
money?
course.
Or right? There's always that debate, and there always will be. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I found in doing this for almost 20 years. I have not met one person in almost 20 years, not one, that is completely debt free and regrets it.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point.
Not one, because we can have that debate on should I do this or should I do that? Should I do, debt freedom is real.
Yeah.
And getting out of the shackles and burdens of those payments every single month, it is real. And I've, again, not met one person that has done it and regrets it. Not one.
Well, I mean, here's the thing: if you regret it, you can always get more debt.
Yeah, you
That's pretty easy to me.
Exactly. That's
Yeah, that was the other question that, in kind of looking at this and thinking, well, what am I missing? What's going on there? What am I not seeing? And one of the things that came to my mind was, well, what about the argument that if all of my debt is at an average of 12%, when I factor in everything, credit cards, car loans, house loan, everything averages out to about a 12% interest rate, for example. And I'm picking numbers out of the air. But what if I could go into an investment that earns me 15%? Isn't it better to earn that 3% float? But to your point, if I'm understanding, what if I could get rid of that 12% entirely and still earn the 15% return?
Right. What if there was a way to do both?
Right.
Right.
There is. There's ways to strategically, mathematically time things out. That's a much bigger conversation, right? But there are absolutely ways that you can do both. And I'll caution people. This is my advisor hat. Put it on for a minute. Average rate of return does not mean actual return.
Right.
When you have returns go up and down, up and down, up and down, averages sound impressive, and that's a great thing that advisors do, is they talk about averages. But tell that to those people that lost 50% in their 401k in 2008 and 2009.
Exactly. Yep.
Their averages were fine. Right? So I'm just saying, just averages don't mean actual. That's all. Right? And if there's a way that you can eliminate the interest, getting rid of interest in itself is a return. Right? When you tell that person, I just had a client today, literally this morning, that is going to be completely debt free. Now they make pretty good money. Okay. So this is not the average person, but saving almost $400,000 in interest with our program. They're going to be debt free in less than 3 years. They're going to be putting back into their pocket about $6,000 a month. Guys, that's $72,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's life-changing for this family. And it's possible with the right strategy and the right plan and the Money Max account as the tool to guide you and keep you on track. Because here's the truth on that. I can drive from Indiana to you guys in Tampa right now, and I can just stop at 7-Eleven, or in the Midwest we have what's called Get-Go's, okay? And buy a map. I don't even know if they sell them anymore because people don't use them. Right? And the truth is, with my old-fashioned 1980s map, I can get to you in Tampa. I can do it. But I promise you, the person driving next to me using the Waze app or using the GPS on their car will absolutely beat me. Because it's going to know about traffic patterns. It's going to understand how the future steps need to be routed differently.
Right.
And get me there more efficiently. So what the Money Max account really is the most efficient pathway to use. Why not use the technology to help yourself and plan and prioritize your future?
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Right?
So, and I appreciate it. Like I said, we're gonna start working together here soon, and so we did create. It's moneymaxaccount.com/Yesner. You can go to that website, click on the information, and we'll get you some more information on the system. Full disclosure, it's an affiliate link site, but it's something that I'm gonna do. It's something that I'm gonna use. Make Brian and Tammy put their money where their mouth is.
Yep.
And see if we can get me out of this mortgage so that I can send my kids to college.
There you go.
Actually, I've told them I'm only paying if they go to FSU. They can go anywhere they want. I'm only paying if they go to FSU.
Gotcha.
But at least I'll
Now,
have
what
that
would be
option.
Really neat if maybe we did a follow-up call in 6 months or so to talk about your results.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, we could do that.
I like it.
We could absolutely do that. So I don't know, anything else?
No, I'm interested myself. I'll be using the link and maybe sharing it around to
There
see.
you go.
Got a few clients who definitely can maybe in a position that just the right tool set will help them, get their journey a lot straighter, get more efficient in that end date. So I like that.
The other thing that appeals to me about it too is that there are certainly those people that have dug themselves way too deep, and for those people, it may be that bankruptcy is the only option.
Right.
But there are a whole other group of people that I've even said it before. Bankruptcy is too big a bazooka. We don't need a bankruptcy to help this person out of debt, which is where a system like this may come into play. A system like this may be helpful for some people that, I don't want to go into default and have to settle out all these debts.
Right.
I'm not a candidate to file a bankruptcy. I don't want to do any of that stuff. What other options are there, out there for me? And so that's why I'm intrigued by it. But I don't know, Brian, Tammy, anything we missed? Anything you want to add?
I had one further thought on that is just that people are in all different types of positions when they come to you, right? I mean, some have, there's obviously a reason, but I don't want people to think they have to have like a ton of discretionary income.
Right.
You just have to have, some discretionary. I'd say the average client, and Brian, correct me if you've seen differently, but I would say our average is maybe 200, 300, $500. I even talked to a couple in Utah last week. They had a young couple, 3 children, really struggling, living paycheck to paycheck. They had $50 a month left over. Seriously, that's all they had left over when we did a realistic budget for them. They're on board and they're going to be able to save 6 years off their mortgage. Now that's not a tremendous amount, but we're talking $50 a month. They were completely thrilled. Now he's going to get more income and they're going to pay it off faster, but it's for whatever the situation the person has where they are today. We can give them, there often is hope where they feel like there isn't hope. So
our average client will save over $100,000 in interest and be debt free in 5 to 10 years. It's not for everybody. Let's put that disclosure there, right? But it's for a whole lot of people that we can make a major impact and change in their life. And so I would encourage you, first step, and just request more information.
That's it.
Yeah.
Tammy or myself will reach out and we'll set up a time to. It never makes sense to people until they see their own numbers and how it can impact them in their life. And being a financial coach for as long as I have, that's probably one of the best joys that I have is showing people what we can do for them and the hope it brings to their family and their life and the change it has created. I have clients that are debt free because of this program, and it has changed everything for their family and their legacy.
Nice.
Right. So it's a blessing.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. Yep.
So I do want to give some love to the people that help out here at the podcast. So I do want to mention our longtime friend, our longtime sponsor, Sam Cohen. For people that are attorneys or title companies and they need malpractice coverage, insurance, malpractice insurance, give Sam at Attorneys First buzz, Sam at attorneysfirst.com, and he can help you if you're an attorney or title company anywhere in the country you want to talk about malpractice or insurance. We've also got the Patreon page for the podcast here itself. I think we're going to try, if we have some time, we're going to try to grab Brian and Tammy for a little after-pod show here in a minute. So you can go to patreon.com/crushingdebt, and you can see some of that additional content that we've created. we're also only a few weeks away from the PanCan Purple Stride Walk to raise money for pancreatic cancer. By the way, I did just hit not only my individual fundraising goal, but also the team fundraising goal. So I am, at least as of this recording, the team is the #1 fundraising team in the country for PanCan.
Very nice.
And I'm the #2 individual fundraiser for PanCan. So I'm really happy, and thank you everybody who have contributed or supported that. I will have all those links. I'll also have the moneymax.com, moneymaxaccount.com/Yesner. That link will also be in the notes. You can click on that link as well. Whew, I think this might be one of our longest episodes.
It's a very good. I mean, I think we needed enough time. It was
we did.
double the interviewees, so it was definitely well worth the extra time. I like it.
Double the interviewees, double the time. But thank you, Brian. Thank you, Tammy. We appreciate you being guests on this week's show.
It's our pleasure. Thank you so much.
It was a joy. Thank you.
Yeah, so definitely I think the Money Max system is something that feeds into what we like to promote here, which is that we hope you have more money at the end of the month rather than month at the end of the money. And we will talk to you in next week's episode of the podcast.